Hi, I'm Kurt Stonecker, Technical Trainer and Coordinator here at Western Colorado University. Today, we're going to go over the setup and use of Microsoft Bookings. Much like the Calendly app some of you may be familiar with, Microsoft Bookings allows you to easily set up a site where your colleagues and coworkers can schedule appointments with you from blocks of time you designate. Being a Microsoft product, Bookings automatically syncs your Outlook calendar to prevent double bookings and other scheduling conflicts. Bookings also has the ability to text confirmations and reminders to your attendees in order to help prevent late starts and no-shows. Now that we have a better idea about what Microsoft Bookings is, we can go over how to set it up, as well as some typical use case scenarios. We'll start out by looking at how to access Bookings. It's important to first note that Microsoft Bookings is an online-only app, so you'll need an internet connection to access it and make any changes. Your Outlook account must also currently be on the 365 server instead of the Exchange server here on campus. If your Outlook account hasn't been migrated yet, or you aren't sure, contact IT before moving forward. The simplest way to get Bookings is by opening a web browser such as Chrome and navigating to Book.ms. You may need to sign in with your university credentials. Bookings is also available by navigating to 365.western.edu. Here it can be found by clicking on the menu icon and then selecting All Apps from the pop-out menu. You should see Bookings near the top of the list. Upon your initial login, Bookings should look like this. Yours may look a bit different if you've created Bookings calendars in the past. Also, check to make sure that the switch for Try the New Bookings is in the On position, flipped to the right. Now that you're on the updated Bookings page, you can left-click on Create a New Calendar. From here, you'll likely want to select the Create from Scratch option. However, it's a good idea to take note of the option to clone an existing calendar, as it simplifies the process if you are building several similar calendars. Selecting Create from Scratch brings you to the first step of creating your calendar. You'll first need to give your calendar a name. You'll want to use something basic that avoids special characters like dashes, ampersands, @ symbols, etc. If you're going to be the only one on your team using this calendar, say for advising students or for booking office hours, feel free to use your name with some accompanying information like your name's meeting scheduler. If, however, you're going to build this calendar so that users can schedule meetings with multiple team members, you may want to name your calendar something broader, like Financial Aid Student Counseling. For the purposes of this training, we'll say I'm building this calendar for bookings with just me, and we'll call it KS Meeting Scheduler. We then have the option to add a logo or image. If you don't have one in mind, you'll be able to add one later. For demonstration purposes, I'll just use this picture of a shark I have handy, but you'd probably be better off using the Western logo or using your own picture. Once you've selected the image, Booking gives you this very basic cropping tool. Once you're happy with the image, right-click on Add Logo. Now use the drop-down menu to select the type of business this calendar is for. This selection doesn't really affect the rest of the process, but I'd suggest selecting Education. Below the business type drop-down, you'll see some basic business hours listed. These business hours have been imported from your Outlook calendar, so yours may look different. It's okay to leave this alone for now. We'll have plenty of time to modify these times and set preferences later. With this step completed, you can click the Next button. This brings us to step 2 of the creation process. Here you can invite other participants to your calendar if other members of your team are to be booked for meetings on your calendar. For instance, this option may be helpful if you're a professor and you'd like for your teaching assistants to be bookable through the same link. Remember, you can always make other team members bookable after the calendar is created. We'll leave this blank for now. Go ahead and click Next. In step 3, Bookings automatically creates a default service for you. Here, they've selected office hours, which are bookable in 30-minute increments from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be modifying this service later in the tutorial, so for now, we can keep this service as is. Go ahead and click the Next button. The final step in the creation of your calendar is deciding who will be able to book appointments. Your options here are No Self-Service. This limits bookings to only those who have the Bookings app. People in my organization. This limits bookings to faculty, students, and staff at Western. And Anyone. For this option, anyone you provide a link to the Bookings page will be able to book an appointment with you. Depending on your scheduling needs, you can select either People in My Organization or Anyone. It is inadvisable to choose No Self-Service, as it forces those who would like to make appointments with you to download an app in order to do so. For this tutorial, we'll go ahead and select People in My Organization. You can now click on Create Calendar. Once your calendar has been created, you'll see this window giving you a shareable link to the booking page. You'll also get an email that looks like this, giving you some added information, as well as a link directly to the admin portion of your calendar. Even though we now have a link ready to share, we aren't quite done editing the calendar, so let's click on the Get Started button. This brings you to a somewhat sparse main page. In the default view, you'll be looking at a calendar. This calendar will mirror your Outlook calendar and has a section for any staff you may have added. The first item we want to look at is critical and can be found under the Booking Page menu. Near the bottom of the menu, you'll see Region and Time Zone Settings. Use the caret to expand this section. Under Current Time Zone, use the drop-down to set your current time zone. For those of you working here in Gunnison, the selection should read UTC -7 hours, Mountain Time. Of course, if you are working remotely, you'll want this selection to reflect your current time zone. This is a common mistake, so if you get to your bookings page after completing the setup process and the times on your calendar appear incorrectly, double check that you've made the proper selections in this menu item. Be sure to check the box for Always Show Time Slots in Business Time Zone option so that students and colleagues don't get confused when booking appointments. You should also take time to click the Save option at the top of the screen to lock in the changes you've made. The next item we want to take a look at is Services. Left-clicking on Services will give you a breakdown of all the services users will be allowed to book. By default, the only service should be office hours, which we set up initially. Let's take a look at the different modifications we can make. Go ahead and click on Edit Service. This opens a window where you can edit the basic details of the service. If you aren't using this service as office hours, the first thing we can do is rename the service. Let's call it Academic Advising. Next, you'll be able to edit a short description of the service. We'll change that to read 1-hour appointments to discuss your academic future. You can also give your office location here. You may also add an online meeting, as well as send the meeting link in case you want users to have this option. For the purposes of this tutorial, we'll set the duration of each appointment to 1 hour, but you can customize the length however you like. You'll then be able to give yourself some buffer time by clicking this switch. This will bring up the option to set up some time before and after each appointment that cannot be booked to give yourself some time to catch your breath or take a bio break. Let's give ourselves a 10-minute buffer after each appointment. Past that, you can set a price for the appointment, which we'll leave blank. You can also add notes about the service, viewable only by your staff to give them additional instructions, and set the maximum number of attendees. As we don't want to allow multiple users to book the same time, we'll leave that at 1. You also have the option to let users manage appointments that you've booked for them. We'll leave that off for now. Since we want this service to show up on our bookings page, we'll leave that option on, but we'll leave default scheduling policy off for now. It's a good idea to click the Save button when you're done editing a section. This will bring you back to the base page, but will ensure any recent edits are saved so you won't have to repeat edits if you have to navigate away from bookings for any reason. Let's move on to availability options. Since we set the appointments to 1 hour, let's go ahead and show available times in increments of 1 hour. We'll go ahead and leave the minimum lead time at 24 hours. This means users must book their appointments at least 24 hours before the appointment begins, so you won't be surprised by last-minute additions to your calendar. For the maximum lead time, we'll move that to 90 days so that users don't inadvertently book appointments too far in the future. If we scroll down a bit, we'll be able to customize availability. Right now, we're allowing users to book appointments from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Let's change that so we have availability from 9 a.m. to noon and 3 to 5 p.m. on Monday. For the first part, use the drop-downs on Monday to select 9 a.m. and noon. Then select the plus icon to the right of the garbage can and set those drop-downs to 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. respectively. You can now set up your recurring hours however you like. If you scroll down a bit further, You are also given the option of different availabilities in a defined date range. So if you're headed out on vacation or a big project comes up, you can make the needed adjustments. Click on Set Different Availability for a date range. Now set which dates you have altered availability. Then click the drop-down box and select Custom Hours. This will let you edit time slots as you did with general availability. You can set as many of these custom date ranges as you need. Next, we'll look at Assign Staff. For this option, if you're the only person on the calendar, you can go ahead and switch the Allow Customers to choose a particular staff for booking option off. Moving on to Custom Fields, we see there are a number of fields you can require users to fill out when they book an appointment. You can use the switches to set some of the most requested fields, or create your own fields by clicking Add a Custom Field here. We're going to switch on phone number as a required field so that we can have bookings text reminders to the user once they've booked their appointment. Once you're satisfied with the required fields, move on to notifications. Here we have a few options on how to communicate with users about their appointments. We'll first want to make sure Enable Text Message Notifications for your customer is checked. This will add an option for those booking appointments to opt in to receiving both a text confirmation when they initially book an appointment, as well as a text reminder 1 hour before the appointment begins. Unfortunately, there's no way to make these text reminders mandatory, as current communications laws prevent it. You've also got some options for email confirmations and reminders. This first checkbox is to notify the attendee of any changes you make to the booking. The second will send an additional meeting invite to the attendee. This is helpful if the attendee is also using Outlook. When they accept the invite, the meeting will be added to their Outlook calendar as well. You also have a space here where you can add additional information to the email confirmation. You have a basic text editor where you can add text or links that might be helpful for the attendee to go over before the appointment. Finally, on this page, you can add additional email reminders. Left-click on Add an Email Reminder. Use this drop-down box to set the timing of the email from 2 weeks to 15 minutes from the start of the appointment. You can then use this drop-down box to select which parties get the reminder. Here you can choose Customer, Staff, or All Attendees. We'll set an additional reminder to go out to all attendees 2 days before the appointment, along with a simple message. When you're happy with the additional reminder, click on Save Settings. Once you've saved the changes on this reminder, you again get the option to add yet more email reminders. Though it may be tempting, especially when dealing with students, to add several extra reminders, it's a good idea to be judicious about the amount of automated correspondence you send out. While a well-timed reminder can be extremely helpful, the more reminders you send, the higher the probability the attendee deletes them as an annoyance or ignores them altogether. When you're finished editing your service, tap the Save Changes button. Once you're happy with the changes you've made to your service, it'll be up to you to give people the link to your bookings page. You can copy the link by hovering over it with the cursor and clicking the copy icon. From here, you can paste it into emails, place the link in your Canvas courses, or add it to your department web pages as you see fit. Remember, only those with this link will be able to book appointments. Now that your bookings page is set up, let's go ahead and click on the link to take a look at what a user will see. Once we're on the booking page, we can see the name we chose for our calendar as well as the icon we selected. Right now, academic advising is the only service we've created, but other services would appear here if you create them. We can also see the current selected service here. Your attendee will click an available date on the calendar, let's say August 10th, and then select a time from those available. Remember, the dates and times are also affected by meetings and appointments already on your Outlook calendar. Let's select 1 p.m. Then, your attendee can scroll down and add the rest of the required information. Once the attendee selects a country code for their phone number, they'll get an option to opt in to text message confirmations and reminders about this appointment. At this point, the attendee would left-click on the Book button. Your attendee will then get this confirmation screen. They will also receive the email confirmations we set up, as well as the text messages, provided they opted to receive those. This appointment will automatically be added to the host's Outlook calendar where you can view and make changes as you would any other appointment. In addition, if you head back to Book.ms to the Services menu item, we can see upcoming appointments booked specifically for the selected service. Clicking on the ellipsis here will allow you to view, edit, or cancel this appointment. Any changes or cancellations you make here will be communicated to the attendee via email as well as text, again, if they've opted into that service. This brings us to the end of our overview of Microsoft Bookings. As you work your way through building a bookings page and you encounter questions or issues, please put in a work order with IT and we can help you through it. For IT Services, I'm Kurt Stoniker, and thanks for watching.